Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Kaspa Miniseries. I'm Alex. We are continuing our mission to compress the epic 7.5-hour The Bitcoin Takeover podcast into small, powerful highlight episodes.
And I'm Jamie. Over the last several episodes, we've focused heavily on the vision of Kaspa's founder, Yonatan. We've heard his arguments for why Kaspa exists, how its tech works, and what he hopes it will achieve. But a one-sided story isn't the full story.
That is so true. To really understand a project, you have to understand the strongest arguments against it, and the host of the podcast, Vlad, did a masterful job of representing the skeptical, Bitcoin-first perspective. Today's episode is Vlad's criticisms of Kaspa, and we're going to give voice to the tough questions and hard-nosed critiques that any new project must face.
This is crucial for a balanced view. Let's start with the first and most fundamental criticism Vlad brought to the table, one that haunts every crypto project that isn't Bitcoin: the lack of an immaculate conception.
The Immaculate Conception. That's the idea that Bitcoin's launch was a one-time event that can never be replicated. An anonymous founder, no company, no pre-mine, and a quiet release into the world. It's the gold standard for a fair launch.
Exactly. And Vlad directly contrasted this with Kaspa's messy beginnings. While Yonatan framed the chaotic GameNet launch as a feature, Vlad brought up the specific criticisms from the community. He referenced a well-known Substack article saying, "They say that there was basically 648 million coins mined, and you decided to make a new Genesis block as a result of a bug."
He put the hardest critique right on the table. He pointed out that this event, where the chain halted and had to be restarted, left a permanent mark. He mentioned how people were complaining that they were checking their mine transactions on a blockchain explorer and realize that they're gone.
From a Bitcoiner's perspective, this is a massive red flag. It doesn't matter if the coins were technically recoverable by running a full node. The fact that the chain had to be manually stopped and restarted by a group of developers breaks the narrative of a purely autonomous, unstoppable system. It introduces a human element of trust right at the beginning.
It creates an asterisk on its history. Bitcoin has no such asterisk. This leads directly into Vlad's second major point of skepticism, which is all about market trust and the Lindy Effect.
The Lindy Effect is the idea that the longer something has been around, the longer it's likely to stick around. A 100-year-old company is more likely to be around next year than a 1-year-old startup. Vlad's entire worldview is steeped in this principle. He sees Bitcoin's decade-plus history of survival as its single most valuable feature.
He doesn't just see it as a feature, he sees it as the very source of its monetary credibility. He pointed out how Bitcoin's culture of extreme conservatism, the refusal to change, is what hardened it. The block size wars weren't a bug, they were a feature. They proved the network was resistant to capture and change.
And Kaspa, from this perspective, has none of that. It's new, it's complex, it's still evolving. Vlad's line of questioning implies that for all its clever technology, Kaspa is still just a theory. It hasn't survived a major internal conflict. It hasn't been the target of nation-state level attacks for years on end. It has no Lindy.
It's like comparing a battleship that has survived a dozen wars to a brand new, unproven blueprint for a futuristic aircraft carrier. The blueprint might look better on paper, but the battleship has proven it can float.
That's a perfect analogy. And this lack of a long track record feeds into Vlad's third major area of skepticism: adoption and legitimacy. He brought up a really painful truth about Bitcoin's own journey. He noted, if you look back 10 years ago, there is more of it, adoption as money, than there is today. We had Dell, Expedia, and Microsoft, and Steam.
He's pointing out that even Bitcoin, with its incredible head start, has struggled to become a widespread medium of exchange, largely due to high fees and a clunky user experience. So, from his perspective, any new project claiming it will be a better payment system faces an almost insurmountable uphill battle.
And it's not just a technical battle, it's a psychological one. Vlad argued that people are psychologically drawn to believing in Bitcoin's stability simply because it has more historical data. This becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that Bitcoin is going to be more stable.
So Bitcoin's dominance isn't just about its network effect, it's about its deep-seated monetary credibility in the minds of the market. Questioning, how can a new project like Kaspa ever compete with that?
It's a huge challenge, and Vlad also highlighted the cultural hostility that any new token faces from the established Bitcoin community. He brought up the story of Stacks, a layer 2 for Bitcoin, whose founder was called the scammer by Look Dash Jr., and his only sin is that he actually tried to bring extra use cases, and also had a token.
That's the environment Kaspa was born into. From the start, it's labeled an altcoin, which in the eyes of a Bitcoiner means it starts with a presumption of being illegitimate until proven otherwise, a proof that might take a decade to deliver.
So let's bring all of Vlad's criticisms together. First, Kaspa lacks Bitcoin's Immaculate Conception. Its messy, human-intervened launch will always be a point of contention for hard money purists.
Second, it has no Lindy. It hasn't been battle-hardened over a decade, and therefore lacks the proven resilience that gives Bitcoin its deep, market-tested credibility.
And third, it faces a massive uphill battle for adoption and legitimacy in a market that is psychologically and culturally biased towards the original.
It's a powerful and coherent set of criticisms. Vlad's perspective is the anchor of realism in a space often filled with hype. It serves as a reminder that technology alone isn't enough to create sound money. You need time, trust, and an unshakable history.
Absolutely. And hearing this perspective is essential to fully understanding Kaspa's challenge and its potential. And with that, we conclude our final deep dive into the epic conversation between Yonatan Sampolinsky and Vlad Kostia.
What a journey it's been. Thank you all for joining us on the Kaspa miniseries. We hope this breakdown has given you a comprehensive, balanced view of one of the most exciting projects in crypto today. Thanks for listening.